नमस्कार दोस्तों। कल हमने अपनी एक वीडियो में देखा कि क्या क्या स्टेप्स होते हैं एक नए इमिग्रेंट के लिए कनाडा में आने के बाद, और क्या उसकी लाइफ रहती है फॉर द फर्स्ट 1 ईयर, और क्या क्या टू डू टास्क्स उसकी होती हैं जो उसको करनी होती हैं सो दैट हिज फैमिली कैन लिव अ नाइस लाइफ इन कनाडा। वो एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट वीडियो है। अगर आपने नहीं देखी है तो मैं उसका लिंक यहाँ ऊपर डाल दूँगा, यू कैन चेक दैट आउट। बट टुडे आई एम गोइंग टू कवर अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट, जो कि है कि आपके मंथली एक्सपेंसेस कितने हैं। एवरीबडी इज़ लाइक, आपने ये तो बोल दिया कि आपको काम क्या करना है कनाडा में आके, बट आपके खर्चे क्या हैं अगर आप यहाँ आते हैं तो। सो इट्स अ वेरी सब्जेक्टिव थिंग। इट ऑल्सो डिपेंड्स कि आप किस तरह का लाइफस्टाइल यहाँ जीते हैं, बट देर आर सम बेंचमार्क्स जो कि आप यूज़ कर सकते हैं, और इट वेरीज बाय द साइज़ ऑफ योर फैमिली एज वेल। सो यहाँ हम 2 साल रह चुके हैं अभी, हमें कुछ आइडिया है कि क्या चीज़ कितने की आती है और कितना खर्चा मंथली आपका हो सकता है डिपेंडिंग ऑन द साइज़ ऑफ योर फैमिली। सो वी आर गोइंग टू फोकस ऑन दैट हियर, एंड आई एम गोइंग टू शो यू ऑन बोर्ड what I feel your expenses could be depending on the size of your family and your needs. So let's start. So I'm going to divide it up into a few components, which are the most important components, and we are going to just put them here. So I'm just putting, this side is the items. I'm just checking if my camera is capturing everything. Yes. So one of your biggest items always going to be rent in Canada. Then you have grocery, you have car, and linked to car there are 2 expenses. One is your insurance and one is your lease payments if you are buying the car on lease, right? Then if you're coming with kids, there will be expenses linked to your kids, and I'll go into what they are, but let's keep a bucket of kids. And then your utilities, we can break it into your electricity, which is called hydro here, then water, and even though it's not a utility for the home, we got to pay our mobile bills. So mobile bills will also be coming here. After that, we are left with tenant insurance and home insurance, and the last one will be eating out or going out, whenever miscellaneous expenses you might have to pay every month. So we are going to cover that here as home/tenant insurance. And then miscellaneous, eating out, everything else. And we are going to work on some assumptions here so that we have everything bases a few fundamental assumptions, which if you don't agree with, if your lifestyle is a little higher or lower, those can change a little bit, but not by a lot. It'll marginally affect, like vary from here and there, but most likely in line with what we are discussing today. तो देखते हैं, अब शुरू करते हैं. Since this is a very subjective discussion, as I said, it depends on the size of your family. I'm going to break this up into 3 components here. Let me just, drawing a straight line is a issue on this monitor. They could have just given me a functionality to make a straight line, but no, they want to give me a ruler, and then I will create lines here. Anyway, I don't hate doing it. All right, so we have 3 components here, 3 types of families, right? And I can say goodbye to the ruler. Say there is a family of 2, so a couple, let's call it a couple. And I will also tell you what variations can be for single here if you're just one person in Canada. But let's focus on a couple plus 1 kid and a couple plus 2 kids. So rent is going to vary between these 3 families because your requirements are going to be different. for a couple, depending on where you are, you could be paying anywhere between, can be a basement, like $1,000 basement in suburbs, to a $3,000 condo in downtown Toronto. So this is very variable, but just to pick a middle figure, we can say a couple would shell out somewhere close to $2,000 if not living in a basement. But if living in a basement, they could be doing, say, a $1,500 in today's times. So a $1,500 to a $2,000, in between that range. Sorry, I wanted to put this here, so I'll just put it here. 1,500 to 2,000. Let me erase that. Yep. Then we are talking about groceries, right? Grocery is a component of your total bill, जो कि पिछले कुछ दिनों में बढ़ता ही गया है. बहुत व्लॉगर्स जो मैं देखता था 2 साल पहले, वो $500 पर मंथ की बात किया करते थे. आजकल सिचुएशन बदल गई है विद ऑल द इन्फ्लेशन, स्पेशली द फूड इन्फ्लेशन. आई वुड पुट दिस एनीवेयर बिटवीन 600 to 700 in today's terms. And if you have a kid, I would add maybe 150. So I'm maybe going to 750 to 900, and similar here from maybe 800 to 1,000. Just budgeting some economies, but इतना लग जाएगा आज की डेट में आपकी ग्रोसरीज में. रेंट का भी अगर हम देखें, आपका एक किड है, यू कैन लिव इन द सेम स्पेस more or less, but let's budget a little extra so that we are good on that side. And if you have 2 kids, maybe a 1 bedroom plus den is not a great idea. Here you can live in a studio, you can live in 1 bedroom. Here you can maybe be in a 1 bedroom plus a den, but 1 bedroom और den शायद 2 kids के साथ थोड़ा आपको छोटा पड़ेगा, and you may have to go for a 2 bedroom. And this could range from anywhere like 2,000 to 3,000 depending on where you are. And mind you, these ranges are very broad. I have not kept them a lot broad, but they can be very broad depending on where you are. You are in suburbs. If you are in downtown Toronto, it will be different. So mind that while, take all this analysis with that pinch of salt. Then car insurance, car insurance is also a very area dependent expense, and also dependent on the kind of car you buy, the vintage of that car. अगर वो बहुत पुरानी है तो उसकी इंश्योरेंस अलग होगी. अगर वो आप उसको ब्रैम्पटन में ख़रीदते हैं, मिसिसागा में ख़रीदते हैं, टोरंटो में ख़रीदते हैं, हर जगह के अपने अलग इंश्योरेंस रेट्स हैं. So it could vary from 250 to 500. And is this dependent on the number of kids? No. Unless your kids are driving more cars and you have more than 1 car, then it'll change, but we'll not worry about that. Again, then lease payments, right? Lease payments are on the car. अगर आप अपनी गाड़ी कैश में नहीं खरीद रहे हैं, अगर आप अपनी गाड़ी लीज पे खरीद रहे हैं, it could vary again in the similar range, say 300 to 600, depends on कौन सी आप गाड़ी ले रहे हैं और कहाँ चला रहे हैं. So we'll keep this as the same for all the families here. Now, what I meant by kids, right? We put a category of kids here. Kids can be, expenses for their classes. If they go for one extracurricular activity, अगर उनको वो करनी है, तो वो आपका $100-150 पर महीने तक जा सकता है. Could be as low as 50, but can be 100. Then they might need some things, right? They might need a toy. They might need to, do something, some activity. It's an hourly activity. You have to pay for that. So this is a miscellaneous kids expense. It's a bucket that can go from, say, on a lower level, 100. Sorry. Yeah, this is 300 here. Lower level from 100 to a higher level of 300. Can be like a $50 as well. Depends on what kind of activities you are indulging. If it's just one extracurricular activity, not many other things bought off the market, of the toy stores, there might be just $50. But yeah, this is an average. Utilities, if you're living in a condo, you have to understand that the utilities, electricity and water could be covered in your rent. So जो हमने पहली वीडियो बनाई थी उसमें हमने बात की थी लीज टर्म्स के बारे में. तो एक इम्पॉर्टेंट चीज़ जो हमने वहाँ डिस्कस नहीं की थी वो ये थी कि अगर आपकी लीज टर्म में आपकी यूटिलिटीज़ कवर्ड हैं तो ये आपका एक्सपेंस यहीं कवर हो गया रेंट के अंदर. एंड एवरीथिंग एज अ कॉस्ट, तो हो सकता है आपका रेंट हाई हो उस वजह से. सो इट्स ईदर हियर और हियर, बट वील टेक इट सेपरेटली बिकॉज in my analysis I have not put utilities on the top. So like a normal condo, electricity can range from say a $50 to a $100, and we'll keep it like that. Just keep it there for now and not worry about it too much, because in the larger scheme of things they may not change or move the needle. Water similarly, it could be like, it's generally quarterly bills, but could be between $30 to $50 every month, give or take. Then coming to mobile phones, like one thing that most immigrants get surprised about is, and negatively surprised, unpleasantly, is the level of expense you have on your mobile phone just to get that network, right? हमारे इंडिया में you have, you know, gigabytes of data every month, every day. In fact, like you get 2 GBs per day, and still your plan is like 500 rupees, which is equivalent to less than 10 Canadian. But that's not how it works in Canada, unfortunately. Like your plans can be as low as $30, but what you will get in that might not serve your needs. So let's put this between, for a normal user who will use at least 10 gigs of data every month, ये कहीं ना कहीं जाके 40 to 80 के बीच में आएगा. By the way, 80 से बहुत ज़्यादा हो सकता है. 5G network, a lot of gigs, and if your line is not connected to your Wi-Fi, like you don't have the Wi-Fi at home and mobile from the same operator, it could be high also. So 40 to 80 for this, and we missed the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is also in the same range. So what I'll do is I'll multiply this by 2 everywhere, or 3. So 2 lines for the couple and 1 Wi-Fi. So this will be in the range of 120 to 240, right? So 2 mobiles for the couple, no mobiles for the kids. Again, kids are not getting a new car here. Kids are not getting a car of their own, and ना ही उनको कोई मोबाइल मिलने वाला है इस एनालिसिस में. So between 120 to 240 is their range. Now let's talk about home or tenant insurance. Home insurance is when you are the landlord, you have bought the house, तो आपको एक home insurance लेनी होती है. वो ज़्यादा एक्सपेंसिव होती है. जब आप टेनेंट होते हैं, जैसे कि हमने पिछली वीडियो में कवर किया था, your tenant insurance is more about your stuff, your furniture, whatever you put in your rental apartment. तो वो थोड़ी कम होती है, but it can vary depending on the carrier you take. Like a tenant insurance could be $20 a month as well. Depending on how savvy you were while you were buying it, you could get it for $20. A home insurance can go up to like $80, $100, $120. But we'll take a broad range, because you could be a tenant, you could be a homeowner. For an immigrant, he could be a tenant to begin with. तो हम इस रेंज को ले लेते हैं 20 to 100. Now miscellaneous eating out. Very good thumb rule to do this is, if you eat out a lot, say you are 2 people in the couples category, you eat out say 4 times a week, 4 times a month, like every week once. It could be higher, right? It could be higher than that, but I'm just giving you a rough estimate because we have to keep this somewhere, right? So maybe 4 times a month you eat, and if you're not going for a buffet, you might end up spending $15 to $20 per person. So here you could be spending per meal. So you could be spending your one meal is 20 plus 20, $40 for a couple. So you might be spending like $160 in a month if you go out 4 times. Or if you go for a buffet, it could range from $35 to $50 as well. One meal, one person. So let's take a 35, then that becomes 35 into 270, and into 4, 280. So between 160 to 280 kind of a number. So let's put it at 150 to 300, and this is only 4 times a month. In case it's higher for you, which is depending on how you go about it, it could be higher. That's totally fine, right? So this is all the expenses. Now आपसे मैंने आपको शुरू में ही बोला था कि अगर आप सिंगल हैं तो थोड़ा सा फ़र्क आ जाएगा आपके एक्सपेंसेस में. सो वो केस भी एक बार एनालाइज कर लेते हैं. सो इफ़ यू आर सिंगल से पुट दैट हियर, एंड आपका रेंट फिर शायद आप एक रूम में रहना पसंद करें तो आपका रेंट शायद 800 to 1000, लेट्स टेक इट 1000, नियर योर ऑफिस, वन रूम, राइट? Groceries will change depending on how many times you cook at home, what you do. So maybe a 400 here or a 300 here. Just put a range. Car insurance, if you take one car, it'll be the same. But if you don't, then it'll be 0. For someone who's really new, doesn't have a license, it could be 0 or it could be this number. So let's just put this number, thinking you will get a car. Same lease payments, no change. Kids, you don't have any. And you know, one big mistake we did, I just realized, why do we have the kids number here? It should not be there, right? It's just couples. Very sorry for that. Okay, perfect. Utilities could be 50 for you if you are like out half of the day and you're coming back only for the night. Water could be 30 for you. Mobile is same, so 40 to 80. Tenant home insurance will be same for you, 20 to 100. Eating out could be higher if you don't cook a lot at home because you're leading the single life, which we all have lived during our times. So let's keep it at 400 or something, right? But not 400 because number of people is less, so maybe just 200 here. That's 10 meals in a month. So that much allowance we have given. So if you look at these numbers broadly, right, it's 1,400, 1,900, 2,500, 2,580, 2,580 and 80, 2,640, 2,740 and 2,940, like roughly 2,900 total on the higher side. On a lower side, it will be like 260, 340, 550, so around 900, 1200, 2200 to 2900 for a single person for the entire month. And you know, earnings versus expenses is another interesting topic. वो हम किसी और वीडियो में डिस्कस करेंगे कि how much you need to earn to be comfortable with this expense and still save some money, and what should be your rate of saving. मतलब वो सब हम डिस्कस करेंगे किसी और वीडियो में जहाँ हम इनकम को समझ रहे हैं, बट यहाँ पे एक्सपेंसेस को समझ रहे हैं. देन अगेन जस्ट seeing couples number, we are like around 2350, 2650, 27, 30, 120 more, 2850, 3000 and 3000, roughly 3000. And the purpose is not to give you exact number because situation varies. It's a very broad range, right? But the idea is to give a good idea. Idea is to give a good idea. Very nice. Idea is to give a good estimate of what it could be. 3600, 3800, 3900 and around 4300, 44, 4500, right? This is where this goes, right? So you have to understand that this is where this number can reach. Now if you see this, we have increased the rental by 200 here, and this cost roughly by 200, so 400 there. This is between 100 and 300, so 500 to 800, so 500 to 800 above this estimate, so 3,500 to 5,300, right? And now we're talking about couple with 2 kids. We've increased this by 150, roughly 100 to 150, this by 300, so 400 total. On the lower side, and rest is the same. This becomes into 2, right? 600 roughly higher than the previous estimate, so around 4,000 to around 4,500, 500, 5,100, 5,700, yeah, around 6,000 per month, right? So this is a rough estimate. आपकी अपनी सिचुएशन, इसमें मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि इसके अंदर स्कोप नहीं है इसको रिड्यूस करने का. ऑब्वियसली स्कोप है, सबसे बड़ा स्कोप तो रेंट ही है. अगर आप देखिए 1,000 ऑन अ 2,200 टोटल, दैट्स लाइक रफली 45% ऑफ योर टोटल एक्सपेंस. 1,500 on a 3,000, 50% of your total expense. So your rent is anywhere between 45 to 50% of your total expense. And because it is true for each scenario, more or less हमारा ये estimate correct है, क्योंकि on a common sized basis, जैसे हम finance वाले लोग generally बोलते हैं, on a common sized P&L basis, हर जगह rent of the total is around 45 to 50% of the total expenses. So this is a rough idea. What are the things you can squeeze, right? Wherever there are ranges given, you can squeeze. Rent is a big range, you can squeeze that. Groceries, you cannot squeeze that much, and the range is also very small, as you can see. Similarly, lease payments, yeah, if you're taking a BMW, it will be above 600, right, or 500. But if you're taking a normal SUV or a sedan, it will be on the lower side. Utilities, you can't do much. Water, you can't do much. Mobiles, you can go lower, but it's not a big number compared to the whole. तो ये एस्टिमेट मैं आपको देना चाहता हूँ, ताकि कोई भी यहाँ पे नया आ रहा है तो उसको एक आइडिया रहे कि डिपेंडिंग ऑन हिज फैमिली सिचुएशन, सिंगल, कपल प्लस 1 किड, कपल प्लस 2 किड्स, उसको थोड़ा आइडिया रहे कि उसके क्या खर्चे होने वाले हैं पर मंथ. और अगर आपको इसमें कुछ भी डाउट है या इसमें आपको कुछ भी लगता है कि मैंने मिस किया है, तो कमेंट सेक्शन में ज़रूर लिखें वीडियो के. और देखते रहें और वीडियोस फ्रॉम माय साइड, एंड आई विल कीप ब्रिंगिंग न्यू कंटेंट. आई थिंक नेक्स्ट वी शुड डू इज़ टू बेयर दिस एक्सपेंस, what should you be earning in Canada? I think that's a good next video topic, and I'll bring that to you soon. And I also have to think about it a little, like what should be your saving rate, and if these are the expenses, what should be the earning. So thank you very much. आप लोग यहाँ तक देखते रहे, इसका मतलब है आपको इसमें थोड़ा इंटरेस्ट है इस टॉपिक में, और अपना साथ बनाए रखें हमारे साथ. तब तक के लिए थैंक यू, गुड बाय.